Are you guys interested in adding 50 pounds to your deadlift in 10 weeks? I'm going to guess most of you are. And I'm going to go over that in this video. So stay tuned, stick around if you're interested in adding 50 pounds to your deadlift in 10 weeks. Now, obviously, that's not going to be the case for everybody. But I'd say in a lot of circumstances, it is very possible. And I'm going to get into how we can do that, what mistakes people make as far as programming the deadlift, all that sort of stuff. Now, in my opinion, I'm going to get right down to it. The optimal frequency for deadlifting on a weekly basis is once per week. Yeah, so in my opinion, the most taxing lift is deadlift. It is the most taxing lift. It's more taxing than squat. It's more taxing than bench. So optimally, we're going to program this once a week. Now, I do have guys who I coach who are very successful deadlifting multiple times a week. One of my guys, Angelo, one of my guys, Joseph, both of these guys have made substantial progress on their deadlifts, over 50 pounds added to their deadlifts, and they deadlift, 2-3 times a week. But for most of my guys and myself, I program deadlifts once per week. Why do I do that? So by programming deadlifts once per week, one of the main benefits you're going to see is you can push it harder on that given deadlift day. So I really like to program them once per week because I can almost put more into it. When I know that's the one time I'm going to deadlift in the course of 7 days, I can simply put more work into it. I can put more effort into it. So I've seen a lot of success lately. One of the kind of set rep schemes I like is I will do a couple sets at a lower rep range, anywhere from 2 to 5 reps. So let's say we're doing 2 to 3 sets of 2 to 5 reps, the exact same weight on all of those. Then on a fourth set, I will do almost an AMRAP. So I personally have not quite pushed these to full-on AMRAPs where there's no more reps in the tank. I'll leave a couple. But I've been pushing them to 8s the last couple weeks. And just yesterday, I hit 8 reps at basically 505 pounds on my last one, and I think I definitely had 10 reps in me had I pushed it to a true AMRAP. But what I'm saying you can do is, by having that one deadlift day per week, you can almost take that last set and push it to an AMRAP. But I feel like you have to be conscious of what is truly an AMRAP, what's an RP9 even, leaving 1 rep in the tank. Because my issue is if you put down, let's say, a certain rep range and someone only pushes it to like 6 reps when they really could have hit 10 to 12, you're not going to get as much out of it. So be real with yourself, be true, and push that set a little higher. But that's one thing you guys can try out if you really want to see your deadlift blow up. Do a couple sets, let's say 3 sets of 4, 3 sets of 5 with the same weight. For me yesterday, 3 sets of 4 at 505 pounds. And then on the last set, I did 8 reps at 505 pounds. This will blow up your deadlift. You can almost make a progression on this week after week using the same rep scheme even. You can even use the same rep scheme and do this adding weight week to week, and you'll see your deadlift blow up. So this is something I really like to do. You just have to not start too high initially. You have to give yourself room to progress. I mean, much of the progress I made in my early lifting career when I was pushing for a 700-pound deadlift naturally was utilizing AMRAPs after working sets. So I would do a lot of AMRAPs in that 10 to 15 rep range on the last set. I remember hitting sets, and this was with some bumper plates and such, but I remember hitting sets of like 13 by 535 after a couple sets, after like 2 or 3 sets. It blew up my deadlift. That's how I pulled 700. So I would say if you're stuck somewhere, if you want to get to the 500-pound deadlift, if you want to get to a 600-pound deadlift, or you even want to get to a 700-pound deadlift, try this approach out. You can push harder by simply keeping the deadlift day to once per week. It's not going to be, you're not going to be as taxed because the AMRAP's going to take a lot out of you, but you're only deadlifting once per week, so you can recover better. So this works. I'm really in favor of deadlifting once per week for that reason. You can simply push harder. You can do stuff like the AMRAPs and get more out of it. Give it a shot, guys. I think that will work well for you. But let's dive into the other things in regards to the deadlift. What's the number one deadlift accessory? Besides squat, let's say, because squat is. Besides squat, paused deadlifts. Paused deadlifts are still the number one deadlift variation. They are the king of deadlift variations. I like deficits, don't get me wrong. I like high deficits. I like short deficits. I like banded deadlifts. I like snatch grip deadlifts. I even like block pulls to some extent. What's the king? Pause deadlifts, guys. Pause deadlifts are the #1 deadlift assistance movement. But there's one caveat to that. You have to be real with yourself about the length of the pause. I'm very passionate about this. When you're doing pause deadlifts, do not cheat yourself. Okay? Oftentimes when I program pause deadlifts in for my athletes, I will program a lighter weight than I know they can do because I want the emphasis to be on the length of the pause. Focus on the length of the pause. It needs to be a minimum of 2 seconds. And I don't mean 1, 2. I mean 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. You really want to try to hold the pause on each rep as long as possible. That's when you're going to make the most progress out of it. And pause as low off the floor as possible. So you want to be able to see space between the bar and the floor, but I pause roughly 1 inch or so off the ground about here. I want to see that air, but not too much. I don't want to pause too high. That makes the movement way too easy. Pause deadlifts are something I like to rotate in with my guys maybe every other week. I do them sometimes. I'll have them deadlift normally 1 week, normal deadlifts. And this works sumo or conventional. And the next week we'll do maybe paused. Or you can do a top set. Say you want to do an AMRAP set of regular deadlifts. Do like a two sets of 5 pause deadlifts right after that. That's another approach that really works. But if you want to increase speed off the floor, pause deadlifts. There's no better variation because you're putting your back in a very vulnerable position to where you're having to hold the weight right off the ground. So for guys who are weak off the floor, pause deadlifts is going to be a great way to go. Another thing you can do, full reset rep deadlifts. So this is where you would basically pick up the first rep, put the bar down, stand up real quick, minimize the time at the top, regrip the bar and pull again. So I don't mean dead stop reps. You should always dead stop your reps. There's no place in strength gains and in gaining strength and powerlifting for touch and go reps. I really don't feel touch and go is that efficient. There's the occasional anomaly, and I should say that to all these rules. I have one of my guys, Matt. I have him doing 1 day of touch and go. He's another guy. So I do have guys who pull deadlifts twice a week. I just think once in most instances is the optimal approach. But obviously you have to tailor it to each individual's situation and their weaknesses. So while I say touch and go deadlifts are not great, I have one guy who I program them for because it's a special case. So you have to assess that and figure out, if that's the case. But for most people, dead stop reps, pause deadlifts, that's going to help your deadlift off the floor. The full resets, like I talked about, these were popularized by Brandon Lilly. Brandon Lilly started doing these back in like 2012. He would literally pick the bar up, set it down real quick, regrip the bar, pick it up again, and it makes you faster off the ground because the hardest rep of a deadlift is the first rep. So you're essentially mimicking the first rep multiple times. So full reset deadlifts have their place. I've been programming those for one of my guys, Alex. He's seen success with those. So you just got to tailor it to each individual case, but those really work. For lockout, RDLs. I like RDLs, Romanian deadlifts, a lot. And one of the things about that is Romanian deadlifts force you to stay tighter on the negative. You have to stay tighter on the way down because you're not actually touching the ground with the plates on the Romanian deadlift. You're coming close to the ground, but you're not fully touching the ground, bouncing them off the floor. And these work really, really well. These are going to help low back strength. I got a couple guys doing these. This will help your lockout. It's going to hammer your glutes because you're going to have to get that glute contraction at the top and then stay tighter on the way down. You notice on like a deadlift, you can kind of relax a little on the way down because the ground's going to take it. Well, on a Romanian deadlift, you have to maintain that tightness through your core, through your low back, because you can't just set the bar down. So Romanian deadlift's really good for lockout. And as far as cueing with the deadlift, I think just like a lot of lifts, people simply overthink it. Do not overthink these lifts, guys. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make is just overthinking things. I would say the main things I think about is I get my arms taut. I'm taut through my arms. So not tight, tight, taut, whatever, same thing. I'm getting tension through the arms by pulling up on the bar, almost pushing the bar away from me, pulling my shoulders up, not my shoulders back, because if you pull your shoulders back on a deadlift, you're going to increase the range of motion. So I almost want to make my shoulders as long as possible. I want to push down, make my shoulders as long as possible, or make my arms as long as possible to minimize the range of motion. So push down rather than pull back. There's no place in the deadlift for a scapular contraction. We're pushing down. So think about shrugging downward as opposed to back. That's going to lengthen or shorten the pull as opposed to lengthening it. That's what you want to do. Tension through the arms, make the arms taut. I no longer use the elbow rotation cue. I think it's overkill. I think it's going to distract you from focusing on speed off the floor. So focus on speed off the floor by getting tension through the arms and then let it rip. Really, that's all I think about. Head up too. One of the main mistakes I see guys make is they look down. When you look down, you naturally round your upper back, you round your shoulders, you put yourself in a compromised position at lockout. So I want you to look straight ahead. That's where you're going to stay more upright. You're going to maintain your posture better. You're going to be in a better position to lock the weights out. So eyes forward, tension through the arms, make the arms taut. Those are the main cues I would use, and then focus on speed. You know, I see another thing where guys get their shoulders too far behind the bar. The shoulders actually should be over the bar on a deadlift, and that'll raise the hips up. So when the hips are too low, the shoulders are too far back, that's going to mess your pull up. We want the hips higher. We want the shoulders forward. That's going to be an optimal pull. And you'll know you're not in the optimal position if your butt rises, your butt or hips rise right after you hit the pull. Now, if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Comment, subscribe, help the channel grow. I will keep coming at you with the highest quality videos. Every video, the thought is, what can I teach you guys? That's the new direction of the channel, plain and simple. If you're interested in strength coaching, powerlifting coaching, becoming your best self, hit me up, prstrength1@gmail.com. I will put the link in the description. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Hey guys, so this is my favorite outfit from Barbell Apparel. I always wear the Phantom shorts. They're the best to lift in, best to run in, just because they're stretchy and I can not have them come over my knees on squats and stuff like that. This is the blackout version. I like the blackout version, but I love them. Like all I wear anymore, Phantom shorts. I got the custom Pete Rubish tee from Barbell Apparel. It's gonna be released soon. I'll show you guys the back of it too. So this, I just like wearing a tank to run in, to lift in. It's more free, easier to move. This is my favorite outfit. Check it out, barbellapparel.com/Pete. I'll put the link in the description. These guys support me, so if you support them, you're supporting me. I really appreciate it. These shirts are gonna come out soon and I will explain the meaning of them. This is my own custom design with them. It's gonna be awesome.